Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. If you love dissecting complex global shifts and making sense of the chaos, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we are unpacking a massive demographic earthquake. We're going to take a hard look at the crushing reality of Indian unemployment and how an unprecedented economic nightmare at home is driving a sudden, frankly historical, exodus of Indian youth away from the West and directly into the East. The data we're about to go through is genuinely shocking. Seriously, it'll reframe how you see global migration. So let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. 19 million. Back in 2019, Indian Railways, which is this massive state-run transportation network, announced they had 63,000 entry-level manual labor jobs available. We're talking about basic manual labor here, sweeping platforms, carrying luggage, that kind of thing. For those 63,000 low-skill positions, 19 million people applied. 19 million. If you do the math on that, it means over 300 applicants fought tooth and nail for a single sweeping job. It's just a stunning, terrifying reality of domestic joblessness.
And that begs a really critical question, doesn't it? Where do they go when the doors close? When the economic pressure inside a country builds to the point where 300 people are fighting for one broom, that pressure absolutely has to release somewhere. Now, for decades, the safety valve for India was the West. But today, as we're going to see, that pipeline is completely transformed, leading to a sudden, totally unprecedented stampede toward the East.
Let's move right into Section 1, a sudden global migration. We are witnessing a fundamental rerouting of a decades-old dream, and it's happening right before our eyes, basically over just the past 3 years. Between 2023 and the middle of 2025, there was a steady flow of about 48,000 Indians moving eastward. Okay, makes sense. But then, in just the first 5 months of 2025 alone, one East Asian host country issued up to 480,000 visas to Indian nationals. That is a tenfold explosion in less than half a year. There's no way you can call that normal growth. That is a tidal wave. It is quite literally the equivalent of airlifting an entire mid-sized city and dropping it into someone else's backyard.
Which brings us to Section 2, the youth unemployment crisis.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that to truly understand this sudden stampede, we absolutely have to look at the brutal push factors back home. According to India's own Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, in 2024, the unemployment rate for youths aged 15 to 24 hit a staggering 45%. Nearly 1 in 2 young adults simply could not find a job. We always hear about India's demographic dividend, right? This huge young population that's supposed to power a rising superpower. But without a massive manufacturing sector to actually absorb all these workers, this dividend has morphed into a massive liability.
And the jobs that do exist, they're trapped within a system of extreme wealth inequality. According to the 2026 World Inequality Report, the richest 10% of Indians capture nearly 58% of the national income. Meanwhile, the bottom 50%, which is about 700 million people, by the way, are left to split just 15%. So we aren't talking about a robust, thriving middle class here. It's a deeply unequal system where the masses essentially have almost nothing to their name. Because of this, the reality for consumers is vastly different from the global hype you might read about. Out of a massive population of 1.4 billion, realistically, only about 130 to 140 million people actually have the purchasing power to buy a basic $100 smartphone. To put that into perspective, that means a billion citizens are practically invisible to retailers. They're basically ghosts in the economic machine, structurally locked out of participating in the modern digital economy. Let's look at Section 3, educated yet unemployable.
And this brilliantly illustrates perhaps the most frustrating paradox for young people in India today. The realization that doing everything the right way can still leave you completely behind. Get this. Indian university graduates are actually roughly 3 times more likely to be unemployed than someone who dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. Just imagine taking out loans, studying your heart out for years, getting that degree, only to find yourself significantly less employable than a high school dropout. It is a profoundly demoralizing reality.
And keep in mind, all of this economic hardship takes place in a highly hostile physical environment. Consider the baseline living conditions for a second. We're talking multiple days of 113 Fahrenheit heat, paired with a fragile power grid that regularly collapses into rolling blackouts. You have 70% of the groundwater contaminated by industrial waste and sewage. That leads to 37 million people suffering from waterborne diseases every single year. Oh, and outside Delhi, there is literally a 17 million ton mountain of garbage that can spontaneously catch fire in the summer heat, blanketing entire neighborhoods in toxic smoke. It's no wonder there's a saying taking hold right now: home is not a launch pad. It is a pressure cooker with a faulty valve. When you combine zero job prospects with toxic air, contaminated drinking water, and melting heat with no electricity, leaving the country isn't just about career ambition anymore. It literally becomes a matter of basic human survival. Which brings us to Section 4. The West closes its doors. So, we clearly understand why millions want to leave, but we have to look neutrally at why their traditional escape route suddenly just vanished. There was a sweeping, coordinated global pushback. In the US, Trump's America First policies proposed a staggering $100,000 H-1B visa fee and a 25% tariff, which effectively priced out the Indian IT outsourcing industry. Canada cracked down hard on widespread student visa abuse, pushing rejection rates to a massive 74%. The UK's Labour government halted new tech visas entirely and slashed health visas by 67%. And over in Australia, they implemented higher fees and strict permanent residency caps to manage the heavy influx of migrants to their cities. Simply put, the West collectively welded its doors shut.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, the narrow window east.
With the West closed off and India basically boiling over, a new pull factor emerged to capitalize on all this trapped talent. The real game changer happened on October 1st, 2025. One East Asian country introduced what's called the K visa. Now, previously, you needed to be an elite, world-class scientist or some senior executive to get their high-tier visas. But the K visa, it lowered the bar to everyday STEM graduates from recognized universities. Boom. It instantly acted as a massive release valve for India's desperate, educated but unemployable youth.
And the logistical reaction to this policy was explosive. Direct flights between India and the host country surged from 30 per week in 2023 up to 150 per week in 2025. That's a five-fold increase. This facilitated a massive relocation. Today, over 120,000 Indians have permanently clustered in major tech hubs like Shenzhen, utilizing their English skills and cultural knowledge to act as a frontline sales force for global manufacturing giants.
The financial incentive here is totally undeniable. An average software engineer in India makes about $690 a month. By taking a flight to a hub like Shenzhen, that exact same worker can double or even triple their monthly income. This totally transforms desperate, unemployed youth into primary breadwinners capable of sending fat remittance checks back to their villages to support their whole family. But of course, it's not all perfectly smooth. Section 6, the cost of desperation. Whenever a highly desperate population meets a strict foreign system, exploitation and cultural friction are basically inevitable. Traditional Indian labor brokers quickly pivoted east and unfortunately began treating these unemployed youths as export cargo. Their playbook is highly organized visa fraud. Basically, they register fake shell companies, they use fake contracts to import entire families on long-term visas, and then poof, they dissolve the company and vanish into thin air, leaving the migrants completely stranded in the gray economy. This desperation has really fueled a massive black market of rampant forgery. We're talking fake language scores, fake degrees, even fake death certificates just to clear deportation records. Plus, there's been some severe cultural friction. Practices that are pretty common in India, like using the left hand on public surfaces or a lack of spatial awareness in crowded places, are viewed strictly as public health and decorum violations by the locals. And bringing illegal caste hierarchies into a Shenzhen office, yeah, that is a zero-tolerance issue that will get you immediately fired. The direct result of all this broker exploitation is a massive surge in illegal stays. In just the first few months of 2025, visa overstays by Indian nationals in the host country surged by nearly 50%. This has flooded the black market with invisible, illegal labor. You have people driving Ubers, cleaning apartments, and working under the table, which naturally has forced authorities into a very strict crackdown. So, the crucial point is, the stance of the authorities can be summed up perfectly in this one quote. They don't want people who treat their system like a piñata. They want talent and compliance. You see,
The host country opened a narrow window for skilled labor, not a charity door. The vetting processes are getting tighter by the day, and the tolerance for anyone who breaks the law or disrespects public order is absolute zero.
We're going to leave you with this final thought. When the West pulls the plug and the domestic environment offers no hope, the pressure has to go somewhere. But as this mass migration continues to shift eastward, will a generation of Indian youth trying to outrun an economic nightmare finally find their future? Or are they just setting the stage for a brand new set of closed doors? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and we'll see you next time.